And imagine with current students telling you that you can't get through. Okay, how difficult can it be for someone to stay motivated, right? It was you and another current student who had referred you, who told me that you have 8 years of work experience, you have a lot of things to say, and you should give it a try. What if you don't get in? You have your backup plan anyways, right? So I just applied with around two people telling me that you should not apply at all. So that was a struggle in itself that I had to go through, and that's why I was asking you every time, hey, I'm really scared. I'm really scared. And at one point you said, if you're scared, do something about it, retake, and if you cannot, then go ahead. And best things are the simple things are the best things, right? So
thank you so much, Aniket, for joining the Success Story series. So before we get started, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your work experience, and your journey so far.
sure. So I'm Aniket. I'm from Ranchi, Jharkhand, which is in the northern part of India. And there are a lot of industries like Tata Steel, Tata Motors here. And I was actually, even though I wrote in my essays, I was actually fascinated by how they work and they are operated. So I pursued my mechanical engineering from 2010 to 14 in SIT Tumkur, and during which I carried out some projects related to sustainability, one of which was award winning. After that, I joined Quest Global as a mechanical engineer, worked for 3 years, joined TE Connectivity after that in a sales role, got promoted to a project manager role. Then I moved to Ather Energy in battery technology as a project manager. Currently, I'm working as a senior project manager in TE Connectivity. So I'm back to the same company. And overall, because of these four roles, I've worked into four industries, which is water treatment, appliances, electric vehicles, and automotive. Apart from work, I like yoga, meditation, cooking, learning languages, cycling.
Interesting. So how many years of work experience do you have in total?
I have more than 7.5 years of work ex now. This August, it'll be 8 years.
Right, right. So Aniket, you specifically applied for the Masters in Supply Chain Management program. After 7.5 years, what made you think this was a important skill set that you wanted to focus on, and why did you want to do a master's at this point in your career?
Okay, so that's a very good question, and it is more like a chicken and egg problem. So I would not have got into this program if I did not have this experience, based on only my academics or GMAT, which will come to later for sure. But one reason I got into the program was because of my work experience. If you ask why I wanted to have this program after 7.5 years of work experience, another good question is because I wanted to have that extra approval or degree of masters from the US in supply chain, and I wanted to do a specialized degree. After talking to many people who are recruiting in my company for various positions, they said that, okay, MBA has its own importance. But looking at the current scenario, people are also preferring someone who is a specialized master. For example, specialization in supply chain is one, specialization in business analytics is one, in sustainability is coming up in a lot of colleges. So I wanted to be expert in one field. And I work in the part of supply chain where we design products and move it to production. But there are a lot of things that happen after production, which means shipping those parts to customers, and which happens before production, which means managing the raw material, engaging vendors, suppliers, making relationships with them. And as a supply chain expert or a master, you can do this in any industry. There are people from Raw School of Business who go into in the supply chain program, who go into Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, Lucid. So you can work across a variety of industries, solving a very specific problem. So That's the reason I chose. So that is what a master, in my opinion, means.
Right.
To be very, specialized in one area.
Right. So, how did this whole process start for you, and when? Because how did you plan this? Because before you start planning that, okay, now that I've decided I want to go for a master's, there are so many phases in terms, excuse me, in terms of taking the prep and essays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, tell me, how did you start with the research? How did you plan the geography that you wanted to apply to?
Right. Coming to the timeline, I'll take some time to answer this question because I've been prepping for long. I started my journey with CAT in 2013. I got around 88 percentile, if I remember well. It was in English, it was 95, but in quant, it was in low 80s. So I got only a few calls, not the ones I was expecting, and I gave 3 attempts for CAT till 2016. After a year of gap, 2013, then 15 and 16, I got similar scores. Obviously, I wasn't doing something right. I had an I cleared I didn't clear. I got around 199 in NMAT. I had an option to apply to NMIMS Bangalore, but I did not want to settle for it. So I either wanted a tier 1 in India or any till tier 2 outside India. So after that, I thought, let's gain some work experience. So when I was at Aether, which was in 2019, and I had 5 years of work experience by then, my manager encouraged me and said that why don't you get an executive MBA? Then I applied to IIM Bangalore program in which you could work and study together. It's called PGPEM. I went till the interview round and I was rejected. Also, I was preparing for GMAT, but I actually gave their own entrance test, IMB entrance test, and got through till the interview, but I was rejected. After 2019, I was prepping for GMAT. I couldn't clear it. I got very poor scores. 2020 came. I applied through waivers. I got into 2 colleges, University of Connecticut and University of California, Davis, for MBA programs, but without any scholarship. And it's about 1 crore in Indian rupees that I had to spend. I was not willing to spend it for a college which is not ranked, say, in the top 25. So I started prepping again, so 2019 I prepped, didn't get through. 2020 I prepped, didn't get through. 2021, half of the year went through, and I was only prepping and doing nothing. So around June 2021, which is last year, I realized that I have spent a lot of time, and I don't have 2 years now. And there are people whose profiles I saw on LinkedIn who had succeeded with similar profiles like mine with a master. And that's when this post-pandemic articles were coming up that supply chain is the new finance of MBA. So I started engaging with admissions team and alums way back in July 2021. I had conversations with an alum, a current student, and also admissions team. They allow a one-to-one. I also joined webinars. I did this research for 3 months. In parallel, I was prepping for GMAT. I had a lot of workload because I work with teams in China, US, Italy. I had to be very flexible, but flexibility also comes with its own disadvantages. So I did manage a lot of time for GMAT, but it didn't work out quite well. So November 2021, I thought that, okay, let's take some support from Crackverbal, and from there on, the journey for application started with a score which was not too good, not too bad, and we could finally make it.
Right. So, how did you bump into Crackverbal? What was the research you were doing that you found Crackverbal?
Right. So I talked to a current student. He also had taken support from Crackverbal, and I was researching many other firms or people who were supporting with applications. Some of them were very, they were priced extravagantly high, totally out of my reach. Some of them were slightly okay, still very high. And those people were giving only 1 hour of consultation followed by email conversation for editing. What my requirement was something different. It was personalized attention. Because of my low score, I needed someone who could give a personalized touch, who could understand what I really want to put there. And I had no option but to trust the current student with whom I was talking to, who was in the university I wanted to go to. So that's how I learned. I trusted him and I just went ahead.
Right.
That was
So, Aniket, we worked together. So, tell me about the first, when we first spoke, and when you started the whole process. What were your thoughts on how the application should be, and was it different, or was it exactly how you imagined it would be? Tell me a little bit about the application process.
It was totally different what I had thought in my mind, because I had done applications for earlier for MBA colleges myself and got through. I had thought that it will be the same, but I didn't take into account that I'm applying for an elite university, which is in top 10, in fact top 5, the university, and the B school is in top 10. And even though it's not an MBA program, they will be very specific about your essays. So the I had 3 plus 1, around 4 essays, 1 resume, a lot of other things. And I thought that, okay, I'll write something. I already have something from the past. I'll write that, maybe 2, 3 edits, and in 10 days we'll be done. So we talked. I started. I signed up with the Crackverbal on around 10th of November 2021. I was aiming 5th of December deadline, which is round 2 for the Ross MSCM program. And I thought, okay, it's a piece of cake, right? Cakewalk. Let's do it. Then I realized that after starting, I realized that questions are different. The business school is different. The competition with the kind of candidates that come through is different. And we cannot take the same approach that I had taken previously. So when I started, we did a brainstorming. In the brainstorming, I got some really good insights about how to think, okay? Fundamentally, how to think about your success story. So storytelling is something which is very underrated in India. I think I was watching Kashmir Files, and they said the art of storytelling is also in one of the Vedas, something like that. So storytelling is something very underrated, but I realized that after a conversation with you, that it is so important to, to make a connection. And I will give you an example. You told me that instead of saying that I like to take this subject when I'm in college, research about the subject, talk to a current student, ask him which professor takes it, make a connection with him, and write exactly why you want. So you had a lot of why, and I think we focused more on the why that subject, why a master's, rather than the what. And I think that made the difference. So yeah, I hope I answered your question. Sorry, it was.
No, absolutely. And I think it's a very important aspect of the application process. And I completely agree with you that most people, when they get into the process, they think it's all about writing essays, right? How difficult can it be? But
Yes.
every word, every sentence should have a meaning, because we always have a word limit, right? And I always tell students that consider it as very expensive real estate. You have to make sure that that 300 words is making a lot of sense in every part of it, right? And it's not about jargons and technical stuff, but it's more about being very real and genuine about what you want to do and why you want to do it, right? So that's what matters. And especially you correctly said, for top schools, it's extremely important, right?
Yes.
So once you applied to the interview stage, how much time did it take? And when did you get to know that, okay, they've called you for an interview? What was the timeline?
It took a lot of time. So I started with Crackverbal 10th November 2021. I completed my first draft. around the beginning of January. Not the first draft, the second draft by early January. My deadline was 31st January or 30th January 2022, which is this year. And I worked with you from November 10th to January 30th. If you remember, I was asking you questions even on January 29th with the fear that you will be irritated, but you were not. And we did what 20-25 edits together. I also took help from some experts, and I brought in that data and showed you, and you made it flow like in a story. So all the content that I put was mine, but the flow and the rhythm and the why was from you. We did it together. And to answer your question, when the interview call came in, so I submitted on 30th January. I got an interview invite around 7th of February, and I booked a slot for 1 week later, 14th of February. I interviewed, and I got my decision 1 month after, 14th of March.
Right. In fact, I remember, Aniket, that every time we spoke, you had this constant thing that is my GMAT score enough? Should I apply? Should I apply in the next round? Should I, retake my GMAT? And you had this constant question. And I said, you have a great experience. Let's give this a shot. And because I had seen, students and worked with students before, and I was pretty sure that you have a very good chance, even though the GMAT score might not have been, one of the best GMAT scores, right? So I remember that very clearly about when you mentioned about the question, Patrick. Tell me about the admission, the interview process. How
I'd
did
like
that?
I'd like to interrupt. I'm sorry. I will come to your question about interview. About the GMAT score, there were current students who told me not to apply with that score. And imagine with current students telling you that you can't get through. Okay, how difficult can it be for someone to stay motivated, right? It was you and another current student who had referred you who told me that you have 8 years of work experience, you have a lot of things to say, and you should give it a try. What if you don't get in? You have your backup plan anyways, right? So I just applied with around two people telling me that you should not apply at all. So that was a struggle in itself that I had to go through, and that's why I was asking you every time, hey, I'm really scared. I'm really scared. And at one point you said, if you're scared, do something about it, retake, and if you cannot, then go ahead. And best things are the simple things are the best things, right? So it was so simple, right? Do something or leave it. I did something, could not improve it, and I left it. So yeah, as simple as that. You were asking about interviews, right?
Yeah.
So your question is how the interview process was.
Yeah.
So can I take a
How was it for you?
How was it for me? The interviewing process okay. So the interview, as I said, I got invited on 7th of February. And after that, I did, you gave me access to Crackverbal interview preparation. And I went through the entire module. And I remember I gave you feedback that it was amazing course in itself. I did not feel the need to have a mock interview after that, but only after taking a mock interview, I realized it was so important, right? And we did a mock interview. I still remember it was a weekend or a Sunday. Saturday was a Sunday, and you gave me around more than 1 hour, 1 hour and 20 minutes. And I was so anxious, but I was also anxious about the setup, right? I did not wanted to use my laptop webcam, so I used an external Droid cam on my phone. I was so worried about the logistics, but at the end, I realized I have to be worried about the content equally. So we did some tweaks there. Again, you asked the question why, and there were suggestions like when you're going to apply for a supply chain degree, be very clear about which part of supply chain you work in, which part you want to go to, and that clarity also helped me in having conversations with people, right? That why I chose this program. People actually asked that. So the interview process, to answer your question, was it was fairly simple. It was a 20-minute interview with the same admissions committee person that I had met before in a one-to-one. But to prepare for that 20 minutes, I gave around 1 week of time. So 1 week of daily interviewing with my family, friends, and one session with you. And I kept on messaging you on WhatsApp about, hey, I used to send you voice messages that, okay, I have changed one answer a bit. Does it sound good? And I used to get feedback.
Right, right. And one thing, and more from our perspective, right? More from a application mentor perspective. It's a very enjoyable process to work with someone who is very, into it, right? Because that's where we also feel that it can be an impactful process in all ways, right? Because you might have also realized that your storytelling capacity or your way of articulating things, or even the clarity of why, the introspection behind it, right? That also clarifies so many things in your mind that it makes your case a lot more stronger. And at the same time, when you see that someone being so perfection, you're a perfectionist. I realize that in every way. Like you said, you were anxious even about the setup and how the camera is. And I remember you told me that you had put your wife's phone and on airplane mode and things like that. I remember that. So I think it was a very enjoyable process to work with you, because we come with a lot of experience, but then when we see that it is being absorbed also in the right way, it makes a lot of difference. And I'm so glad that it made a difference for you. Right. So what did you feel when you saw the admit letter email?
Again, I'd like to take a step back, and I just realized I have to tell you something. So you remember, there are people who are, English honors or masters in literature, and they write really well. Okay. There are many admission consultants like that. Obviously, I'll not take names, and they are good at what they do. But one very key thing that I think they miss if they don't have a lot of experience is that they haven't done a master's themselves, right? And I think you have done it from a very prestigious institute, which is ASB, way back in 2012, if I'm not wrong. And that shows, okay? So because for number one, you understood my case really well, because you have a variety of industry exposure from your master's, and you looked at it not just from a literature perspective, of literature of essay. You looked at it from a how to explain this business, because you know that business, how to explain the different scenarios in essays from a business point of view, because we are applying to a business school at the end. So that is one key differentiator I saw while working with you. About your question about the admit, oh my God, I didn't sleep that night. I got an admit around 1 o'clock in the night, and I knew I would get an email the same day, so I was waiting for it, and I was expecting it at 1 o'clock in the night. I got it at 1 o'clock in the night. I resisted that I should not wake anyone up at my home till 3 o'clock, but at 3:30 I waked everyone up. It's 10 hours. And I had told them that this is my dream school. I have been working for it for 8 months. I've been studying for 3 years and endlessly. And everyone was so happy, because I don't have to study for GMAT anymore. I don't have to apply anymore. And I was happy because I would go to a school which is so prestigious, so diverse in its cohort, great courses, only 10-month course, STEM certified, top university. And I was, beyond happy. And I resigned the same day. My manager took it sportingly, and she said that I wanted to negotiate with you, but I should not, because you're going to do something which you always liked. You were always inclined towards operations. If I stop you, it will be wrong. So she encouraged me, and I've been so lucky that one manager, encouraged me to do a master's, and the other one encouraged me to go for it finally, when the dependency on me was so high in the company. So I resigned early to work more than my notice period, so that I can make a very smooth transition.
Awesome. Congratulations, Aniket. I'm so happy for you. So I think you converted Ross, Foster, and Granite, 3 schools. Huh?
Granite, yeah, and I'm waiting for one more. Michigan State University MBA. But because we already discussed on this also, right? That take a STEM course at this point. That is a non-STEM. It was a backup. I'll not go for it. But Purdue and Foster are STEM, but there are different reasons why I'm not choosing them. Purdue is a longer program. Foster is not as at par with Ross in its curriculum and more into tech, which is not my goal. I have one advice for if someone watches this in the future, that don't copy what others are doing. If others are going into a B school, that is for a reason. Have your own reasons. Like I have my own reasons to go into Ross. The companies that I want to get into hires there. So don't look at only ranking and blindly run after colleges. That's the wrong way to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I completely agree. And that's great advice. In fact, it's gold because it really matters. And I think this clarity has also come because of the whole process that you go through,
Yes,
the
for
research,
sure.
the
Yes.
research and the alumni connect, and all this has made it even more stronger. And I think I'm so glad and I'm so happy for you, Aniket. Uh,
As I told you, you have 1/3 or more of the credit. I've divided credits to the people who wrote recommendation 20%, to you 1/3 straight or more, right? Because I could not have made this without your help, and I got a $10,000 scholarship, which is the highest scholarship for this program.
wow.
Forget scholarship. I was not expecting an admit. Okay. And people don't want to invest into admissions consulting because they think it's a lot of money. First of all, you were priced really at a very good price level. Second, that investment, whatever I did, gave me in INR 7.5 lakhs of return. So that is worth it. And a scholarship is not just money; it's also respect and title on your written on your resume. So
Absolutely.
thanks to you, it
I
wouldn't have been possible without your
Thank you, Aniket. That's very, very nice of you. And like I said, I enjoyed the process also working with you.
yeah.
And all the best. Congratulations once again. So happy for you. And I'm sure you'll do amazing in the next phase of your life. Thank you so much, Aniket, for giving me time also on a Saturday. I know morning, weekends, not the easiest thing to do, but thank you so much.
No worries.
And really, I really appreciate it.